Welcome to The World According to Mike Graham. This is where you get a little glimpse into my world, and it is quite fascinating. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into what's gone wrong with the Metropolitan Police here in London and at Scotland Yard. Also, we'll be making an apology to vegans because it's National Vegan Week, and we'll be seeing what Biden's been up to with his bullseye this week. In the good old days, a policeman was a guardian of law and order.
He will be patrolling his area. It's called a beat, maintaining law and order, helping those who require help, and giving advice to those who seek it.
Everybody had respect for a man in a uniform.
The British policeman does not carry a gun. A truncheon is his only weapon of defense, and because of the respect that all people have for his uniform, it is quite exceptional for it to be used.
And you were never far away from a bobby on the beat.
In Great Britain, there is an average of one policeman to every 650 persons. In this city, there are 400 policemen, of which about 100 are on duty at any one time.
These days, modern policing looks very different. With only 5% of burglaries being solved, these preening police officers have far more important things to do, like dancing the Macarena. And when they're not dancing, these righteous rozzers insist on taking the knee.
So they have all taken a knee. They've all taken a knee.
And sometimes they can arrest you for hurty words, especially if they look like your lesbian grandmother.
Her nana is a lesbian, she's married to a woman. She's not homophobic, look what you're clenching your fist. Go away from my teenage daughter.
What is up with you?
Right, there is something wrong with you, mate.
Here she is again, pepper spraying some innocent children. All in a day's work for lesbian nana. But don't worry, if the fuzz have given up fighting crime, you can always rely on the older generation to do the job for them. And that's my deep dive into the rise and fall of the police force. Now, let's meet an expert. And now it's time to talk to Peter Blexley, former Metropolitan Police detective, to find out precisely what has actually gone wrong down at Scotland Yard. Peter, welcome to the show. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on The World According to Mike Graham. As a young man, knowing that you wanted to be a police officer, you must have known, you know, we're going to encounter some things that aren't going to be very pleasant. It seems to me now that the people who go into the police, and I know that probably because I'm older, they look terribly young. They look as if they've got fresh faces, butter wouldn't melt on their mouth. They don't look prepared to deal with trouble. They look as if they're all about kind of talking people down and somehow managing to kind of calm situations. Well, in my view, sometimes the police need to steam in and sort it out.
Yeah, iron fist in a velvet glove.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as you know when to take that glove off.
Yeah.
And there are many occasions when you do have to do that because a lot of frontline policing is about the unpleasant rough and tumble.
Yeah.
Now, when I joined the cops, I knew there were people that were not going to like us no matter what.
Yeah.
But they tended to be criminals.
Yes. The bad guys, as we like to call them.
Yeah. Or real political, ideological extremists.
Yes.
Who wanted to bring the country to its knees. Anarchists.
Right.
They were never going to like you
No.
because they saw the uniform as some symbol of the
Oppression,
establishment
yes.
and oppression
Yeah.
and all of that. But by and large, it was criminals who didn't like you. The public pretty much appreciated you because you went out on that beat on your own.
Yeah.
In all weathers. In the dark, all hours, 24 hours a day. And so the public knew there was vulnerability about us as individual cops patrolling on our own.
Yes.
Now, of course, you never see that.
And people expected that you might be in a bit of trouble, but they would always respect you for the job that you did. And I think that's all gone now. I think the trouble is, because we've seen, particularly in recent weeks, these pro-Palestinian marches where the police, and I understand why they're saying it, don't wish to steam in because they think that might cause more problems than it would solve. And I get all that. But there's a sense now that the police are not frightening anymore. They're not scary. People aren't bothered about being arrested. Some of these ne'er-do-wells who are professional protesters just sort of cock a snook at the law now, don't they?
Yeah, and we see so many people just showing utter disrespect towards the police, particularly kids, for example. because there is no great fear of getting nicked and being punished. See, so many of the deterrents have been stripped away because the courts haven't protected and supported the police. And that's been a major problem over the years. People get arrested, they get a slap on the wrist if that. There are no punishments, therefore there is no fear of being punished, therefore there is no fear of the police.
And that's never going to change now, is it? Because how do you get it back? I mean, what could they do to get that respect back, to get that fear back?
Well, Sir Mark Rowley, who's been Commissioner of the Met for over a year now, started off with kind of trying to stop the nonsense, the kneeling rather, and the face painting. And we've seen very little evidence that there is any of that going on. It might happen in other police services. We'll have to wait and see. That's a good start. Policing, sticking to policing would be a very, very good thing to see. And of course, only this week, the Met have said they've started this new right person, right care programme, which means they're not going to go to mental health crises unless there is a danger to someone. That's another good step. So there are some positives, but policing just seems to keep shooting itself in the foot all the time. And it's very embarrassing. If they stuck to policing, if they stuck to enforcing the law instead of interpreting the law, that would be a very good thing. Let the politicians and the lawyers and the CPS interpret it. You enforce it. If that means that you nick someone, they go to the police station and the CPS say, we're not going to charge, that's a matter for them.
Exactly.
Shout that from
and
the
that's the
rooftops.
problem. They're always trying to second guess almost what the CPS will do. And they go, well, there's no much point in us arresting them because it will never get to court. Well, that's not the issue. Get them off the street. It's like when people say to me, you know, there's no point in locking loads of people up because it doesn't make any difference. Well, it makes a difference to the people who get crimes committed against them by those guys.
Absolutely.
Lock them up, get them off the street.
And there's another major problem within the corridors of power, you know, where all those senior police officers who are so concerned about their positions, their paychecks and their pensions, not to mention, of course, the gongs that they're going to hope to get when they go to the palace, right? There's a problem amongst that policing class of people about perception. And they have conversations about how will this look in the papers, as opposed to fearlessly going, this is right, that is wrong, this is policing, this is where we stand.
Exactly.
They're inconsistent, and the public would love the police to be consistent.
It doesn't sound hard, does it, Peter? You make it sound like it's easy to fix. Probably not, but if only you were in charge, that would be good.
Policing, in its essence, is a simple job. Patrol the streets, keep them safe, investigate crime when it occurs. And the kind of measure of an effective police service is by the absence of crime. Well, of course, we've got more crime than you can shake a stick at today, so that kind of blows any holes in their arguments that they are preventing crime, sadly, on a wholesale basis. It's simple. There are complexities within given investigations, of course. But if you stick to those core principles laid down by Sir Robert Peel nearly 200 years ago, you can't go far wrong.
Words of wisdom from Peter Blexley there, former Metropolitan Police detective. That was my deep dive into what's gone on inside the Metropolitan Police. There's been some more court action over in the United States of America. Let's get Trump's takedown.
You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN.
The happiest day for a person in an electric car is the first 10 minutes after they get the charge. After that, they become a scrambled bunch of maniacs that say, where do we get the next charge?
You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN.
That's the end of part one. Coming up, Prime Minister for the week. And I'll be making an apology to vegans. Welcome back to The World According to Mike Graham. Coming up, we'll find out what Biden's ballsed up in the White House this week. But first, it's time for Prime Minister for the week. So now it's time to meet our panellists for Prime Minister for the Week. And I'm delighted to say that I'm joined this week for the first time by Alex Phillips, TalkTV's very latest new presenter. Welcome, Alex. Thank you very much indeed. And Ollie London, a man who has, I think, got a new book out, which you may or may not plug later on. We're going to find out whether you could both be Prime Minister for a week. Alex, we're going to kick off with you. What would you do if you were indeed Prime Minister for a week?
Well, first of all, I'd be dictator for a lifetime, can I just point out. Prime Minister for a week doesn't appeal to me.
No.
And my very first dictatorial act is just getting rid of social media.
Altogether.
Just gone. I'm done with it. I hate it.
it.
Everything wrong in the world comes from that.
Yes.
Whether it's kids with mental illness, whether it's hypersexualisation of society, whether it's traffickers using TikTok to put people in dinghies, kids being groomed on Snapchat, drug dealers selling their wares on Instagram, dividing society, America going lunatic, becoming a cartoon nation.
Right.
I mean, America in Silicon Valley essentially created the worst weapon against humanity.
Yeah.
And all of their enemies are turning it against them. You've got bot farms from Iran and Russia pumping out all of this misinformation, trying to tribalise everyone to really sort of weaken
They don't
the
have to try
West.
very hard, though, do they? Because people want to be tribalised. They love it. They absolutely have bought
I
into
hate it.
They've bought
And
into it, though.
This sad culture where everywhere you go, if something happens, everyone's just like, with a phone. I'm like,
Let's
do you actually
film
go
it.
home and watch that?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the 90s. It was the peak of civilization. You know, this whole, like, oh, everyone's a racist. It didn't exist because there was no social media. Nobody had massive mental health crises every 5 seconds. Prince Harry didn't have anything to moan about back then. And I just think it was a simpler time. And I think if you got rid of social media tomorrow in the UK and incubated ourselves from the madness, we'd just be happier, content and safer.
You see, you Brexiteers, you can't get away from this isolationism, can you? You just want to be on your own, left alone on your little island. I'm not saying you personally, but, you know, Ollie, you're a massive man on social media. Do you agree that she should get the chance to get rid of all of it?
You know, I do agree with some of it, but obviously I think we do rely on social media so much now. For instance, Twitter, or now it's called X, is a great
I'm not
news
calling
source.
it X, by the way.
Let's call it Twitter
It's
then.
a fake news source, like,
there is a lot of
largely.
fake
That's the
news, and
problem.
that is the problem, because you see so much anger in the world at the moment, and we are seeing, particularly young students in universities, you know, because they're going on TikTok, they are being fed pro-Palestinian or pro-Hamas videos, so basically it's biased. They're not seeing the truth, and they are going to universities, they are spreading hatred and anger and, you know, calling on hatred against Jews. And where are they getting that from? It's because they're getting it from social media. And I do think it really has caused a social contagion, and so many young kids are very confused. They have mental health problems because of it.
What's your first suggestion? What do you want to do?
My first suggestion would actually be, it kind of links in with the social media, it's actually banning trans ideology being pushed on kids. And we do see TikTok, for instance, is pushing that, and so many kids are spending hours and hours a day. And it was actually found earlier this year, the TikTok had over 1 million under 13-year-olds, which violated their terms and conditions, and they received a very heavy fine from a court in the UK. And I think it's very, very harmful. I think we shouldn't be pushing this on kids. There are teachers that
This sounds a bit like Alex wanting to ban social media, though. So it sounds like you guys are in
I mean, maybe I would be a dictator as well. Maybe
I've sorted for you. Don't need yours if you have mine. It's done.
But what sort of, I mean,
that would solve a lot of problems.
We could look at you as a bit of an expert on this subject, because you're now detransitioning, right? Were you influenced by TikTok or by any other social media to transition in the first place?
Yeah, and I think that's where most young people get their ideas from. It is TikTok, and for me, I was very addicted to TikTok, especially during the pandemic. I was spending 8 hours a day making so many videos, and all I was seeing from the algorithm was these kind of trans videos, change your pronouns, and you seem to get all this praise and love if you suddenly transition. So that is what drove me.
So they make it more normalised, in other words.
It's normalised, and actually, you're actually weird if you haven't got a pronoun, or if you haven't got the blue hair and the nose rings and stuff. So it makes kids feel this kind of peer pressure, and I think it is very harmful, and I think we should be looking at this seriously and stopping this in its tracks.
Okay, all right. Alex, time for your second
the next
suggestion.
one is immigration cap. I mean, or even a moratorium. And I know everyone focuses on the small boats, but once we've banned social media and they can't advertise the crossings on TikTok, then that's sorted anyway. Another thing my brilliant first policy covers. But the problem is legal migration as well. The government this year have let in gross, not net, but gross, 1 million people.
1.2.
1 million people.
Well, this is what I've been saying. People say, oh, it's only net migration of 600,000. Well, how do you know that? I don't trust the figures. 1.2 million came in. I don't believe that half of them left. It just doesn't make any sense. But we also now know, and we were told this by the Home Office figures, that some of the people now coming in on student visas are actually claiming asylum because it's a racket.
Oh,
and they've now been told, don't offer any more business classes to students from Bangladesh.
Oh, yeah,
because
these
they're all
weird
coming
sort
here.
of like business schools.
Because they're coming here in order to get to live here
But
on
also,
asylum.
one of the visas that have basically quadrupled in issuing now is the sort of dependence visa.
Yeah.
That's just someone's wife coming along
Right.
because they're doing a degree in Mickey Mouse or
Right.
something. I mean, what's that about?
And also, this is the other problem, isn't it, with immigration? Oh, I've got a family member here, so therefore I can move. First of all, we don't even know if they have got a family member here, and it's kind of racist in a way to just assume that they have because they say they've got the same name. And you kind of go, what? It's madness, isn't it?
Yeah, it is madness.
That's very
And then-
good. That could
and
be a
businesses-
possible
businesses are there
game
going,
changer.
oh, we need it for for employment. No, just use the people on benefits who are
Right.
fit to work.
Yeah,
Done.
I haven't actually
Moratorium,
met anyone who says we
solve the
need,
problem.
apart from people who work at the CBI, who don't live in the real world. I haven't met anyone on the street who says, oh, we need to be able to get cheaper people coming here from other countries so that we can employ them and pay them nothing.
Again, in
I
the
don't hear anyone
90s,
saying
British
that.
people worked in coffee shops and restaurants
Yeah.
and bars and hotels.
Exactly.
I did.
Exactly right. We all did.
Yeah.
Ollie, what's your second one?
My second one is actually to ban ULEZ.
There's a lot of banning going on
There's
here.
a lot of banning. We definitely would be
Haters.
dictators on this
Yeah.
island. But,
Right.
I think ULEZ, it's already raked in 26 million, and that's, 57,000 motorists have had to pay
This
that.
is outrageous.
$12.50 a
Yeah.
day. And when we're in a cost of living crisis, it's so wrong to do that. And
Yeah.
there are much better ways to combat climate change. There's, 95% of vehicles are ULEZ compliant anyway. So you're only trying to take 5% off the road.
Right.
And another thing I'll say about all of this ULEZ stuff, they're also putting all these plant pots in the middle of residential streets. So you actually have to drive further to get around to that street. So it's actually causing more pollution.
Makes no sense.
There's no
Also,
sense.
can you please explain to me how you're saving the planet by paying to pollute it rather
Right.
than by just not
Doing it
polluting
for free.
How does that
Yeah.
work?
And also, if you look at electric vehicles, the lithium batteries are mined in places like Congo.
Yeah.
That actually causes a lot of deforestation, soil degradation, and they have to be replaced very often, solar panels and electric vehicles. So that's actually more harmful to the environment than if you're just using a petrol car.
And ironically, they make the argument about the horrible 20-mile-per-hour zones as well, that it will save little kiddies' lives. If you're hit by an electric vehicle, which is about 5 times heavier, you're done for.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You might as well switch off the electricity supply, as they say. Your final one, Alex?
Right, licenses for dogs. I'm
Right.
team cat, always have been, don't care for dogs, think they're horrible little things that sort of smell your crotch and urinate everywhere and just no. But I appreciate that most people out there think they're adorable and nice and man's best
Yes.
friend. Problem is, during the pandemic, everyone went and got one. And now they're coming into restaurants, now they're coming into the pub, now they're everywhere on the tube, they're eating kids in
Taking
parks and
over.
attacking police horses. And you've got these sort of mad XL bully ones that look like,
Right.
Hulk Hogan in dog
Right.
format. And I just think, why don't you have licenses for dogs? So if you want to have a dog, you've got to prove that you're a sensible dog owner, that you know how to train it and look after it. And then when you've got a dog that is an Asbo creature,
How do you
the
test the
beast
dog,
from
though?
hell.
How do you test the dog to see if it's sensible?
No,
or
you
not?
test the owner, right?
Yeah, you test the owner.
Because when I
There's license for owners is
when
what
I
you really
adopted my
want.
cat from Cats Protection League, it was like the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah, yeah.
They came and inspected the whole house, and I'm
Right.
like, yeah, this is a cat.
Right.
Whereas people just buy a dog from, Gerard on,
Yeah.
that online
He's got a few
market site, whatever it's called.
litters in the garage.
Fed glass as a puppy or something with behavioural disorders. And then these dogs go absolutely bozo.
Right.
And the owner doesn't know what to do because during lockdown, the dog was with them all day. And then they've gone off to work and
Yeah.
they're in a one-bedroom flat in Shoreditch and the
Right.
thing's going out of its head. You can't blame the dog.
No.
So if you just bring back dog licenses, you'd say, are you capable of owning a dog? Do you have a garden? Do you have time to exercise it? Do you know how to train it?
Have you got
Great.
a criminal record?
Yeah, and if you
Are you
turn
a
out to
drug
be an
dealer?
irresponsible dog owner, then no dogs for
Right.
you.
Fair enough. It sounds good. Ollie, your final opportunity. She's very enthusiastic. I have to say she's slightly in the lead at the moment. So come on, give us your best shot.
So my final one was actually no cashless society because
Yes.
I think there are so many businesses that aren't accepting cash. I've been to Starbucks and they do not take cash.
Stop going there.
And a lot of
Just
people,
don't go there.
Exactly, stop going there. A lot of people like builders and traders, they rely on cash. That's what they earn. So, to tell them they can't use a legal tender, I think is very wrong. And we're heading towards a cashless society. We're seeing so many ATMs and banks closing down on the high streets. And, some people rely on cash. I think it's wrong. And I think we should be encouraging people to use cash in shops and businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
my
think-
fear would be the social credit system in China, where if everything's controlled by sort of, electronic money, and especially sort of UK-run crypto or something like that, which I think they've kind of dropped a bit now, thankfully.
Yes, but crypto is a problem, isn't it? Because crypto, there's a lot of machines in sort of dodgy shops that I know of in South London where you can take cash in and get crypto out. and it's basically a lot of money laundering, a lot of money washing that's going on. A lot of drug dealers are putting their money into these machines, cash, and they're getting crypto out because that's how they hide the money.
Right.
So you've got to be really careful about telling people they can't
There's some geezer in the
use cash.
Cotswolds who's just been arrested, but as an American kingpin in
Yeah.
Chipping Sodbury in the local cycling
and he's
club.
wanted in like South End,
And
Kentucky
he's doing
or
everything in
somewhere.
crypto.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
keep
dodgy.
cash.
Keep the cash.
And it keeps
These are all
taxman
good.
away for
Do you know
people
what?
who don't earn a lot.
I'm going to do here what I've only ever done once before because you're both so good. I think I'm going to have you as joint Prime Minister. I know it's
Dictator.
not done.
Wow.
I know you might not want to.
Should we do
That'd be
an
deputy.
official
You
handshake?
could do a job share where you work
Yeah, I love
3.5 days each, and you sort of swap.
Oh, that
over
sounds fun.
on a Wednesday. What
As
do
a
you think?
dictator, you'll find, Mike, that you'll be doing the job and we'll be chilling out having a cocktail.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or you
exactly.
could be in Qatar or somewhere, just living it up high on the hog, like some other people do. Not to mention the Hamas people at all. Well done. Let's have a look at your book before we go.
Thanks.
Ollie's got a new book out. It's called Gender Madness. Available not in all good bookshops because they won't stock it. But
Too
you can get
controversial,
it, but you
apparently.
can get it online, right?
Yeah, it's available online. It's really what we were just talking about, social media, how that is infecting the minds of so many young people
Yes.
and how we as a society can fight back against this and protect kids.
Okay. So you could be like the Duke and Duchess of something if you want.
As long as we're not the Duke and Duchess of Sussex.
No, you or the Duke and Duchess of Netflix. You wouldn't want to be that. But no, listen, great ideas, great enthusiasm. Thank you very much indeed. By the sounds of it, you'd both do a much better job than the lot we've got in at the moment, and possibly the lot that we might get in after this. So thank you to Alex Phillips. Thank you to Ollie London. That was, of course, Prime Minister for a week. It was Halloween this week. Here's how America celebrated with Joe Biden.
Do ba 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 do boo do a boo ba do boo boo ba do.
Christmas is coming, but why should it? Why is this still a thing? It's that time of year. November, right? Yeah, you know. It's nowhere near Christmas, but we've already started getting the Christmas ads. And we've already started worrying about what John Lewis are going to have to say for themselves. This week, though, the people in the frame are Marks & Spencer's. Marks & Spencer's managed to produce a Christmas ad which has basically upset everyone. Not only has it upset Christians, it's also upset pro-Palestinian supporters because guess what? They decided it would be really fun to show people burning Christmas cards and chucking Christmas hats onto a fire. Unbelievably, the people who like Palestine said, "Those hats are green and red. Those are the colours of Palestine. This is obviously an anti-Palestinian move." Well, it isn't, because they filmed it in August, right? Which they shouldn't have done. But also all the other stuff where they're making fun of Christmas and making fun of people who like Christmas, that's upset all the people who are supposedly Christians. So here's an idea. How don't we just do away with Christmas ads altogether? Why are they still a thing? So that's it for The World According to Mike Graham for this week. We'll see you next time for The World According to Mike Graham.